Okay, let us continue on with part 2 for lesson 1, testing and creating DHCP Scope. Now let's start from step 17. Clicking the plus arrow next to the IPv4 and then Scope expands the scope to reveal the settings. So here is the plus button next to the scope, and here are the settings. We have address pool, address leases, reservations, and scope options. Right underneath that we have a description of each of those sections. So the address pool shows which addresses are available for DHCP to distribute to a scope, as well as any configured exclusions. So as you can see, we have our range of distribution and our exclusions. Now, the address leases show all addresses that have been assigned to the DHCP server to clients. At this time, there will be no items to show in this view, as the scope has not been activated. The reservations show any addresses that an administrator has manually configured for the DHCP server to assign to a client. Creating a DHCP reservation ensures that the DHCP client always receives the same IP address, even though it has been configured to automatically obtain its IP address via DHCP. Note that no reservations exist at this time, but information is displayed on how to create one. Then we have Scope. The Scope options show all DHCP options that have been configured for just this scope. Windows DHCP Server will also list any server options that have been configured in this list as well, but will not allow an administrator to modify them from the screen. Since the router option was configured via the wizard, it appears in the list. Step 18. To add or modify server options, click on the link on the left column. So we're going to select the server options. Then it says click on the link on the left column. No options are currently configured for this server. For this example, the DNS option will be configured here. Read the information in the center pane, then click on the action and select Configure Options. As we can see, there are some servers already configured, but we're going to go ahead and go through the steps anyways. We're going to go ahead and select Action and then Configure up on the top left of the DHCP window. Then, now since we are at the server options, we can move on to 19, where it says the dialog box allows multiple options to be added at one time. Scroll down to the list of available options and put a check next to the 006 DNS servers option, and be sure that the selection is highlighted. Since the server you are currently working with is also providing DNS service, type the name of the server W2K8R2 internal 1 into the server name dialog box and click Resolve. So let's find, there it is, and when you click on it to highlight it, you can see that the data entry portion has now opened up. So here's where we're going to enter in our server name, which is capital W, number 2, capital K, number 8, capital R, number 2, capital I, lowercase n, T-E-R-N-A-L 1 in the server name, and then we're going to click Resolve. Step 20, notice the IP address of the machine appears in the dialog box below. Okay. Alternatively, the IP address could have been typed directly into this dialog. Click the Add button to add this server to the list. Once the server has validated that the machine in question is actually providing DNS service, the IP address will be added to the list. So now it's going to go through the process of validating. It's going to take a little while and think. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and read lesson 21. I'm sorry, not lesson 21. Step 21. Continue scrolling down the list and put the next check on the 015 DNS domain name. In the string value text box, type netplus.com and continue scrolling through the list of available options to see what is available, and click OK and save to change the two options. So now we're going to search for 015. We're going to click on it. It looks like the string netplus.com is already available there. But just for some review, some available options are router, time saver, log server, cookie server, root file set, root path, IP layer forwarding. We have path M2U, aging timeout, broadcast address, static router option, APR cache timeout. We have some BIOS settings, boot server host name, web servers, and so on. I'm going to hit apply to save those settings and hit OK. Step 22. The two configured options now appear in the center pane. Clicking on the scope options reveals the newly configured options as well. Pay close attention to the icons associated with each option. Keep in mind that while server options do not appear in the scope options, they cannot be modified from this section. Now that the scope is configured, it needs to be activated. In the left pane, right-click on Scope 192.168.12.0 Internal Network and select Activate from the context menu. So here is our scope, 192.168.12.0, and we're going to right-click and we're going to select Activate. Notice that the red down arrow disappears from the scope. Clicking the IPv also reveals the status for the scope has changed to active. So now you can see we don't have that arrow anymore. And then that concludes this lesson, and we will continue on to lesson 2 in the next video. Thank you.